Hi, you're listening to On the Payroll, my podcast about project management, consulting, CRM, Salesforce, leadership, teamwork, all sorts of things that I find really interesting. And this is just an opportunity for me to just speak to really interesting people about topics that we like. In today's episode, I talked to Goolshun Belut. He runs Smplicity, a Salesforce partner that specializes in not-for-profits. And even though he's come from a large GSI or global system integrator, he and his team has cultivated a very interesting mindset, which is quite different from a lot of other partners, which is let's fix the problem first, let's deliver a solution first, and then let's look at the billing or the revenue at the later stage. And that's quite unusual for partners to have in terms of the approach. So I had a really fun conversation with him. In fact, after the podcast ended, we actually stayed online and carried on talking for another hour and a half, I think, about quite a lot of things, especially around creating opportunities for people entering the ecosystem in terms of internship with not-for-profits in order to allow them to skill up and to gain experience. So stay tuned. This was a very interesting conversation. So I invite you to listen in and enjoy. Hello, Goolshun. Hi. Welcome to my podcast on the payroll. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, great. The sun is shining outside, so great day today. How about yourself?
I am very good as well. I think apart from the fact we were talking before this about the hay fever, but I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I am actually very fascinated by your career history. And if it's okay with you, I would love to hear about the journey that have brought you here.
Sure. Well, it depends which part of the story you want to hear. There's many various angles. But to start, I had many various careers in my lifetime, and I'm still young enough, I hope. I did DJing. I worked for radio stations. I went did a bit of TV. Just to mention that to your audience, I'm actually from Mauritius. It's not like worked for BBC or anything. But I've grown up in Mauritius, so I had a couple of gigs down there. I always had a taste for technology, anything that does a lot of problem solving. I was a bit of a geek, trying different things. A bit of an entrepreneur back in the days as well, trying to kind of buy and sell various products. But at the end, what I really wanted to do was to kind of solve a problem. People have a problem, I need to solve it. And that became an obsession from when I was young enough. And my parents were middle class family. Everyone's working hard, loans and stuff. So I wanted to do things. So I tried various things. I came to London for my studies afterwards, graduated, and then for some reason I ended up in a company who were planning to implement Salesforce, which became my career. But to get to that job, I was there as a temporary intern. It was a temp job where literally my job was to take SIM cards to place in a phone, turn on the phone. If it works, then put it back in the box, and that's it. Ship it to the next person. And it was so boring. So I think I knew it was what I wanted to do more. I said, I hope this is not my whole life, just putting things in boxes. And the director heard me complaining a lot, and he called me into his office, and I thought, okay, damn, I think I'm going to lose my job today. But instead, he actually asked me for my CV. So gave him my CV. He saw there's some CRM stuff I did at the university and had a bit of technical background. And he said, okay, let's do an interview next week and let's see how that goes. And then he told me, if you manage to learn Salesforce in 2 weeks, I'll give you a job, a full-time job. And I had so much Googling to do. I Googled the hell out of everything. So yeah, I've learned Salesforce very quickly, even though I've learned enough to be able to just talk the language. But then spent a lot of time making so many mistakes at the company on Salesforce, even deleting the whole database once. So that was one of the things I've done. But then you soon realize there's a recycled bin. I didn't know that before. So, but yeah, it was quite a fun starting as a starting point in Salesforce. From there, I just picked up. I loved Salesforce as a product, and started as Salesforce. I was sales operations, did Salesforce administration, went up to the fact that did our business analyst job, and then went into working for a bigger startup like Groupon as a BA. From then, started picking up different things. I was getting more ambitious now because I knew Salesforce was going to be a career that I wanted to choose. Worked in the financial organizations and decided to take the big step to work in consulting. So I've covered all the various roles that even Salesforce provides. Now you can specialize very quickly, but I did everything from scratch. So I'm sure you would know when Salesforce was Salesforce, it was not called Sales Cloud. It was just called Salesforce CRM. And that is where the days we started to play with the system. But now it's just so many splits. It's good that I've understood the foundation, but the foundation is one thing, it's problem solving. You need to understand that first, and then how Salesforce can enable you to problem solve. That's the key thing I've learned. Think about the product second, think of the problem first. But yeah, that's after Accenture. I got a bit more ambitious. I left Accenture on a sabbatical, but the story was I did a lot of charity projects during my sabbatical at Accenture, and clearly money is king because then you run out of money very quick. And then one of the charity firms I was helping out, they said, I think, you know what, Goolshun, I don't want you to be homeless, so let us pay you. And then I had to create an entity called Smplicity, which is still the company that we run today. But nothing was really planned to create an organization. I just needed an entity which became Smplicity, and then 5 years later, I'm still not sleeping. So it's just been on for the last 5 years. But I'm really glad I'm still doing that because it excites me every day when I wake up. That's overall kind of a quick snapshot of where I came from and where I am today.
Thank you for that. If your friend hadn't offered to pay you, where do you think you would have ended up?
That's an interesting question. I probably would have gone back to contracting. Salesforce still, because that's still something I'm really good at. But I would have got bored very quickly and probably would have started up something else. Maybe not in Salesforce, but some of the products, some of the startups. I think that would be my next step if these things didn't pan out as it did today.
So tell me a little bit about your current company, Smplicity.
Sure. Smplicity, as the name clearly says, simplicity. I'm a minimalist, so I like to keep things very simple, and I'm also a bit lazy, so I like to keep things simple enough so I can scale because I'm that lazy that I want to keep it. I don't want to work that hard. But Smplicity started when we started. Simply, it was just me doing a lot of charity projects when I started, inheriting from the previous work I was doing, and then you start kind of picking up different skill set in terms of running the business. Then you realize the business, you have one person, now you have two people, and then suddenly it becomes a machine that you have to feed. You have to keep on working on it. It needs money to grow because else you kind of you have people depending on you. So we shifted from working with charity companies, working more with commercial companies as well, which is basically, that's my last 12 years of Salesforce, doing a lot more commercial projects. Essentially what we believe in is we are the experts into the whole lead to cash process. So how you get someone from a website to your CRM system, how do you optimize that in a way that you can process that lead faster, turn it into an opportunity fast enough, reporting how you manage your pipeline in a way that it's closing in time and not lying to your revenue forecast or cash flow forecast or even pipeline forecast. And then looking at that, and how do you build customers faster? So we became a specialist in this from our days of Accenture and previous companies I worked with, and recent couple initial customers that we had at Smplicity. We became these specialists. We don't tend to just focus on just delivery of Salesforce as our key offering. We look at the business as well. We're not a management consultant, we're not marketing consultants, but what we do have as an extra skill set is we've worked on many businesses, so we understand how this type of business should really work because we've learned from other businesses how they work. So we can apply that to our clients' system landscape and business landscape. We are now 13 people. We are based mainly in the UK with a team in Mauritius. Even though when I tell my clients I'm going to Mauritius for work, they say, yes, you're going for work. It's actually true. When I go there, even the beach is next door, I still have to work until it's dark. But yeah, so that's what Smplicity is about. We've got amazing people. We've grown quite rapidly in the last year. We're hoping to slightly grow more. It's been a bit challenging during the pandemic to work, not really in terms of business, but to really work in that kind of environment where you're very restricted. You don't have people around you. It's all virtual. But yeah, that's been quite a challenging time, but also exciting times because you had to pivot your methodologies very quickly. So we had to reinvent a lot of things very, very fast. But yeah, this is what Smplicity is about. We're there. We always help our clients. We've got great reviews online, and our clients rave about us. It's because we're not too commercially focused. We like problem solving. From our own DNA, everyone who works there likes to fix something, and then think about the billing later on. Did we fix it? Did we fix it, then someone else will bill for the job. But it's all about, did we make enough difference? And that's who we are.
That's kind of unusual, given that a lot of you came from Accenture, if I'm not mistaken. Chargeability, utilization is in your lifeblood, and for you to actually say problem solving first, billing later, it's not your run-of-the-mill consulting partner, so to speak. And yeah, I think that would give you an edge just for that point alone. Can you tell me about some of the things that you've had to reinvent due to the pandemic?
Sure. Well, we have different various tools. I mean, as you know, in consulting, you do a lot of workshops. You have to get the better workshops when you have physical space, physical people around you, you bounce ideas. You have your whiteboard where you're drawing process maps. Now, how do you convert that online? I mean, we were trying to experiment just using just calls and sharing screen and writing on a piece of paper. Right? We couldn't communicate the ideas. So we use Quip, for example, as our document management system and document creations. So we had to integrate Quip with Draw.io, for example, to literally mapping processes live and doing tweaks live. So we had to get better at this very quickly. Someone doing this and someone driving the session and someone literally taking the notes on the same screen virtually. So we had to get better at this. We had a couple of practice sessions. Some of the workshop didn't work very well with clients, so it got more confusing. But we bite the bullet. We do the next one. Hopefully, it's going to get better. So that was kind of one of the key ones. We even went to the side of experimenting with Oculus virtual reality headsets, and now literally bought one as well to experiment, see how that pivots into the online. It's actually more tricky than the advertising on YouTube. It's heavy on top of that, and you don't get the right interaction. So we kind of did a bit of a hybrid, old school and Zoom with what we share on the screens, but essentially is understanding the role of each different people in the call, who they are. We plan the call very well. We have the right agenda at the top, the right people joining the call. We do a pre-work before the call, so we know we only have 2 hours on Zoom or 3 hours on Zoom for the workshop. We make sure we don't waste time. There's no time, or are you on mute, or can you switch on your camera, or all those kind of things. A bit of prep work we had to do beforehand, and we record the session. It's connected to our transcribing system. So if anything we missed, we get it from the recording. So that was one of the key things that we've done. But we invested in a lot of tools as well. So we because of so many virtual things happening, email became the last tool we use. Sold Slack. We started to kind of change the culture, less email, more Slack, and became more aware of time we spend in meetings. Don't book meetings just for the sake of booking meetings. If a meeting doesn't have an agenda and an outcome you desire from the meeting, and it's not fully written in the description section, anyone is allowed to not turn up or decline the meeting right away. So we force people to think before they book meetings with people, and we don't monitor when you come 9 o'clock or you had to sign up at 5. It's all objective driven now, so that's how we manage our team. So a couple of these things. I mean, there's more we've done behind the scenes. I mean, but we are big fans of experimentation. We experiment even before the pandemic. A lot of them failed. I like the whole Google mentality where you have to experiment in your spare time, either developing a product, but we experiment with our processes and the tools we use. We've used so many tools since in the initial days of Smplicity. Now it's getting harder to change because people are kind of embedded and there's a lot of change management to change in a simple tool. But it still bugs me because I like to just change things very quickly. So I have to fight with my own team now to say, okay, that tool is better, but they will challenge me back on certain things, which is good because as to say, if two people think the same thing, there's only room for one. So I like my team challenge me back as well. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight.
It sounds like you've created a culture that thrived in the change that we had last year. You mentioned earlier, so process mapping and solving business problems is something that's I'm quite passionate about as well. And because I've done it before the pandemic, I feel just as you do that proximity and in-person workshops work so much better. And when you shift to online, you lose a lot of that information that's from the social and body language and different cues you get from that, the non-verbals. Plus, in virtual, you need to focus so much more on the actual message that comes through. So you mentioned earlier on, I was quite interested in when you walked through how you do it. You had one person taking down, drawing it out, another person driving the questions, another person taking down the notes. So now you have 3 people in a workshop, which I imagine previously in a face-to-face situation, you might have needed maybe just 2, one to drive and one to scribe. So do you now see an increase in the cost of actually running workshops to get the same quality, same level of richness of information that you would have got pre-pandemic in terms of cost?
I think our model is slightly different to other SI. These are the IPs that we have. Our models is baked in a way that you can have multiple skill sets in any project on demand, pretty much on a monthly basis. We don't work on a basis where we have a long-term project, which we used to do, where you have to have a lot of people on a single project, and everyone has a specific role to do one specific job. We have a very kind of a blended type of model, but we decide how we allocate by skill set. So it doesn't matter who is. We do the good thing about us. We do a lot of good resource planning. Our operational efficiency is really, really good, and based on what workshops we'll have, what topics to be discussed, we're going to bring the right skill set. For example, I will be leading the workshop because I'm good at kind of asking the question, getting the stuff out of those people. But I trust my person who's drawing the maps, who's good at just drawing maps, and pretty much the same person who's drawing the maps is also the next person who's writing the notes, also knows how to draw the maps. It's just on this role, he's got less of context, so he's just going to write the notes. But we invest a lot of time in cross-training our people. We don't train developers, we don't train administrators, we don't train business analysts. What we train for It's just consultancy 101. How to extract questions, how to the soft stuff that you don't do, because the tool can be learned very easily, right? I know some people are better at the coding side, but if you have to deal with clients day in, day out, those are the skills that matters most. So we cross-train of people when they are, especially when exposed to more clients. So anyone, that could be me in some projects, even though I lead a lot of this project, in some project, I'm the still one writing the notes, and I'm the MD of the organization. It's just, we need that, we'll extract it, and that, I just need to fight hard to shut up on those calls, because those are led by my team. But yeah, I trust them to do the work. But it's a lot of time on training. That's why we took a lot of time to grow slightly bigger, because it requires so much time and effort just to kind of get the right people, train them up. We've been very fortunate that no one really, we had very little churning people. Everyone stayed and they want to work. It's just the way we interview, the way we train them up. We focus on a different level rather than just build. For us, as you said earlier, it's about problem solving. So it's kind of DNA'd in ourselves. And sometimes when you have to focus on the revenue side, it's actually harder for us, which is probably bad for business, because even my team will say, well, but this is what we're going for, right? We want to solve that problem. So it's a challenge. It's a good problem to have, because you train in a way to solve a problem, and the quality, when you solve the quality of the solution is so good that even the client doesn't mind paying, but we don't talk about the bills. But it does sometimes mean that some clients, well, we've spent so much more time than required, then I say, okay, can we bill extra? They'll say, well, no, you said 4 days, it's 4 days, right? But most of the clients, they understand the value they get out of it. They lady fly. So it's I think, because I come from a technical-ish background, not from a full revenue background. Even in Accenture, you have some certain type of mindset you need to do. It's just about chargeability, billable hours, which is good for a business of that size, because they have a big machine to feed. But when you're smaller, you can choose what to focus on, and I chose to focus on different things. But on the other side, the cons is you don't grow that fast, and you have to accept that. If you want to grow that fast, then you focus on metrics. We focus on problems.
Sounds like you know yourself quite well. I many years ago, myself and my husband started a Microsoft partner because we were both certified, and we were the same. We were delivery, and we really enjoyed solving problems. We were doing network infrastructure, putting in servers and Exchange and all of that. But it was our downfall because we didn't keep an eye on the revenue side, and we just couldn't chase for payments. So totally get you in terms of understanding your strengths and how you want to build a business. But also it sounds like you could grow a lot quicker and faster, let's say, if you hired somebody who's a little bit more.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it did bite me back at one point, but then we had to shift a bit. So, and I've realized, I mean, as you manage the business, I've never managed a business of that size before. I've always been part of a bigger business managing a lot of people. It's not my money, right? And when you run your own entity, it's a completely different ballgame. But you have to make a choice. Is money what you focus on, or growth what you focused on, or you feel happier waking up every day to solve a piece of a problem? And for years, I've been debating about this while working at Accenture. Accenture is all about, I mean, don't get me wrong, Accenture is one of the best places I've worked, actually, my whole career. I still keep in touch with all the people down there. It gives you a discipline, a way of work, a way forward. It's very machine, very well-oiled machine. But a lot of people get tired very quickly because it's so intense. The work is so intense down there. I would definitely suggest everyone to go down and work there to understand what it means to deliver a project of certain size, and what does the P&L looks like. It gives you that kind of that context of how big businesses work. But then I was fighting against my own belief. I like to give back to community. I like helping a lot of people. I like coaching people. I like to give my knowledge away. And in Accenture, because even though they encourage that as well, but you don't have enough time because you're on the project for many months, which a lot of times you're not in the same country, or you're locked away on the client side. You don't even meet your own peers. So it kind of drained me a little bit. Towards the end of my year at Accenture, I've decided to take a sabbatical to help charities. But then I realized it was draining my energy a lot working in that type of environment. And I'm so grateful that I've worked there, to be honest, because I've learned so much from it. But at a certain point, you need to know you've learned a lot. You need to make a choice. When you wake up, do you feel your energy drained or you feel full power when you wake up? And I had to ask myself the question. Today, when I wake up, I have full power. In Accenture, every day I wake up, I was waking up kind of half on my battery. And I had to fight hard to kind of raise my energy level. So it's a matter of choice. Some people really thrive in that type of environments continuously. But you need to for me, I prefer a lot of good, I do like a bit of work-life balance, even though for me it's pretty much non-existent, but I don't regret because I'm waking up every day with full battery because I get excited what's coming up today because I get to do things I want to do in my own way, not what Accenture told us to do that way. So I've absorbed a lot from the methodologies and the ways of work, twisted in my own way, in my own culture that I want to build in the company, and this is what we do. And that's the choice I made. So that means less focus on the revenue side. I mean, for many months in the first couple of years, I had no money in the bank, but I'm still delivering work. But the money comes. You just need patience. Once you focus on the right thing, you'll be obsessed. You'll have an obsession about certain things. People notice that, and people will tell you, "Okay, great, you did an awesome job." Do you know what? I'll blindly sign this piece of contract, or I'll blindly sign this check without asking any questions. So that's what we are today.
That's a good place to be honest. Yeah. I have worked for quite a few different partners, and I can see the difference. There are some who are very revenue focused, and there are some who admit that it's a lifestyle business. They're doing it because they enjoy it. They don't care about the money. And for me, moving from a large company to a mid-sized one that's like that, I was horrified. I was like, you are hemorrhaging money. You're leaving money on the table. And in my previous company, as project manager, I'd be in big trouble.
You'll be the first on the firing line. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a change request. You ought to be billing for it. But I could see the difference though. Those that were more lifestyle business, yes, revenue wasn't great, but people seemed to be a lot happier because, as you say, you were there to solve a problem with the expertise that you have. And I feel that there's no higher purpose than to find what you're good at and how to apply that to make someone's life better.
Absolutely. And I think that this is really great that you say that, because it doesn't matter whether you do that for a client or anyone else. You need to have that DNA in yourself. Are you the type of person you like to help? Doesn't matter if it's a client or someone on the street. If that's that's your calling and you've accepted that, money comes very secondary. You don't even think about it. You do the helping first. And I've realized for many years when I was growing up that is the person, that's the inner child in me. But then you get thrown into society, right? To get into all these different projects, all this corporate, all this fancy world, you forget your inner child, you forget your inner voice, because you get diluted by all this noise around you. But I had to fight hard for many years to really go back to the origin. And now what I'm doing is that inner child in me who said, so my gut feeling is that inner child that I had. And I feel happier. And as people say, happiness is a currency in itself. You might be getting, I don't know, a couple six-figure salary somewhere else, but you're unhappy. Here, somewhere else, you can get less money, but you have more time to enjoy life. And you only have one life, so why waste it?
That's true. Sometimes I ask people what their definition of success is. But from your responses, it sounds like success isn't a big pile of cash.
Yeah.
It's more to do with lifestyle and happiness. Do you want to expand on that? What do you think you're successful?
I think I'm as successful as I could be. My definition of success is I had a goal in my head, I've achieved it. And that goal was nothing to do with money. I needed to look after my parents. I've got a great family I'm grateful for. I've got a great partner. For me, I've achieved those. I'm a very successful person. and I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and that's a bonus. Now, once you're happy, because all those points just making you happy, which gives you enough energy to bring money in. But money is the second thing you will think about. Because you have those things balanced, that means you have focus. You can work even 3 times, 4 times harder because you have the right support and you're not regretting anything. There's no cloud. The judgment is not clouded. You're clear in your mind. And it makes it easy to decide whether you want something or not. Because if it's for 100K, you're going to be working more crazy hours just for the sake of it. Then you can say, do you know what? I don't want it. I'm happy doing just my normal hours, have a good life. I'm saying that, but I'm a crazy workaholic because it's not because of clients also, because I like to keep digging around solving. If I go on the internet and find something about a certain problem, then I go down in a rabbit hole, and then it's 2 a.m. in the morning and I have a 6 p.m. Wake up. But I still wake up energized. I don't wake up stressed. So stress is it's a big, even though it comes, but it shouldn't come in a way that it disrupts you from your own life. And I keep telling my own people, some of the people in my company they do like to stay online after working hours, especially the team in Mauritius as well, where you can see them still online. I'll tell them, were you online? And switch you off. I've still got this, and I'll switch off completely. Next time you're going to be issued a red card, because I don't want that, because I had the same thing before. And a lot of people just stay there trying to do a lot more work, but they're not productive at all. So you're just there to do work. You have more chance of making mistakes because your brain is not functioning properly. Just go take a walk, go rest. We'll do it tomorrow. And it's work. You're not dying from it. So make sure you don't die, because firstly, if you die, that's a risk to the project itself. So you won't be able to deliver the whole project if you're sick. So it's a big part of what I personally believe in. I'm hopefully kind of driving the people in the same thinking. It's hard because not everyone it believes in exactly what I believe in. Yeah, but yeah, that's my mission.
It sounds like you and I are quite similar, because if I didn't have kids, I'd be working all hours as well, because that's what I love about consulting. It's so interesting and so diverse. You're solving different problems, talking to different people. And if you're in a large company like yourself in Accenture, you probably get different teammates for every project, and therefore it's brand new and stimulating. But there is a high possibility of burnout if we don't care for ourselves. So I can totally see why you're wanting your team to switch off, but maybe you have to take some of that advice a little bit as well.
That is very funny. Someone, one of my advisors said the same thing to do. He says, but Goolshun, you tell your people not to do that, but you do that yourself. That's setting the wrong example. I'm trying to work hard. So now I'm very conscious when I'm logging in on my laptop after office hours. I make sure everything else is switched off. People don't know I'm online. But it's even though it's leading by example, but I don't want my people to burn out. Because when I burnt out during my Accenture time, it was very hard. It was many months of recovery. And ask anyone at Accenture, I'm sure you know that yourself. You've probably been to a lot of major transformation projects where you get burned out very quickly. It's very hard to recover. It's like an elastic band. If you pull it too hard, it will snap. Yeah. So I'm very conscious about this, because I've seen people get into depression, burnout from work, not because of the work itself. It's just they're stretching themselves, trying to please someone else, and that someone else will get promoted and move other places. They'll be happy. But what do you believe in? Are you doing the right thing for yourself? It's good that you're working hard, but is that for the right purpose? Or you're just working hard just to get some cash, but then you probably worked so many hours. If you divide that at the rate by the number of hours you worked, it's similar as you getting the money at McDonald's, because you worked crazy hours.
I'm just going to pick up on the point where you say, why are you doing it? And I think, again, possibly I'm conjecturing that your reasons are similar to mine. So as a project manager, for me, I need to care for my team. So sometimes if a project is undersold, or if there are other issues like a political landscape on whichever side, then I see it as my duty to take it on so that my team do not suffer.
Yeah.
And so while I tell my team, you do your hours because I will protect you. If we underestimate it, then I will fight on your behalf to get time written off because it was an internal mistake. Or if it's an external issue, then I will deal with that. But I don't want my team to work weekends and evening every single time. Maybe for go live once in a while, it's fine. But that I see myself as protector of them. At the same time, no one's looking out for me except me. So I will shoulder all of that to protect them. So it sounds like if you're running a business, that's even more because you want to make sure that there's paycheck going in for them. And so maybe quite similar in that sense because you're now responsible for...
You're responsible for people's salary, and you're, as you said, Pei, is like your project manager, you're a leader. You have to lead the people. I've led by one key rule. If my team made a mistake, I take the blame. If my team did a great job, I give them the credit. And that's a choice you have to make if you want to be a leader, right? As a parent, you make a choice, right? Either to let the kid kind of roll down the hill or make a choice to protect them. So I personally feel like I don't have any kids or anything, but I've got many kind of children I look after, and their own children as well. So I have to make sure I kind of protect them as well. But at certain time, I need to expose them to the right amount of pressure because they need to stretch themselves as well. So I kind of balance it out. And a lot of times my trick is I will ask questions that has no, if you answer it, that means basically you're lying. So I do test people in my own team because there's so many things to manage. You have to just base yourself on gut feeling and trust your team, right? So sometimes you ask questions to give them a bit of a stressful situation, and then they will answer you something, but you know that question has no answer. If you answered it, that means there's something else going wrong there. So I have do those kind of tests so to see how my team is behaving. But that's my own personal view of it. My team, hopefully they could answer that separately. We've created the trust. They'd never get challenged or never get kind of shut down if they made a mistake. It's just been encouraged. I will take the blame anyway. I'll have to talk to the clients and stuff, and sometimes most of the time we'll have to be honest with the client because we'll bat you back. If it's a big corporation, you move from one project to the other. But us as a business, we're still going to be there. So either we bite the bullet, give a discount, or we're not charged at all, or the client says, thanks for being honest. That's great. So it creates that trust, and you have to be that, and you have to train your people. Even though I shadow them a lot, I do a lot of time expose them to certain heated challenge. Then they can see, and they can be honest when they reply to conversations with the client. They are honest with the client as well. Because I've seen a lot of consultants, they just say things for the sake of saying it, over-promising it. And at some point, the team that are delivering the work will get a lot of the pressure. And I remember one of the leaders of Accenture, who's now left, he's the one who interviewed me. He did say to me once, and I was saying that I'm working crazy hours at the moment. He says, why? I said, there's so much stuff to do. And he says, why? I said, well, there's projects, right? I said, how many hours are you working? I said, I'm working about 14 hours a day. Okay. So something else is wrong then. Either you're not managing your project very well, or the problem is with your own leaders. They're not managing very well. So that's going back to you, that you have to work crazy hours to deliver something that's unrealistic. So you have to go back and challenge them, those people, rather than just saying, yes, okay, I'll do it. Sometimes you can negotiate with your clients. You can say, well, as you said, this slipped our radar. Maybe let's try to find a different way. Can we de-scope some of the stuff? Or maybe we have a simpler way to do the same thing. Clients, most of the time, if you're honest with them, they're okay. So sometimes you just need to be honest about, just put the cards on the table, discuss it. Whatever happens, happens. They may take it the wrong way, or they may take it the right way. Irrelevant of it, at least you know where you sit, where you stand, and how you can plan next. And at the end of the day, you can choose your clients, right? Some clients are so so intense and not on the positive side that you have to let go. You have to say, well, maybe we're not the right fit as a company for you, and neither for you to us. So let's just end this relationship amicably. Better to lose something than lose your own health and lose your own mind around something that you could control it. Maybe they have a choice out there for different people who can actually do the work for them rather than us doing that.
Agreed. Okay. If you were able to travel back in time and meet the younger self of you, you look really young, so I'll just say 16 years old.
I do look really young. Thank you for saying that. Tell my partner.
What would you advise the 16-year-old you?
I think that one of the key thing, not a regret, I would say start reading earlier. Read a hell of a lot of books. I think that I would have told myself that. And don't be stupid enough not to listen to people who's got knowledge. Ask for feedback rather than trying to see if you can do everything yourself. I think those are two key things I would definitely be talking to myself. And the reading's definitely something. I think I've kind of regret that I didn't start earlier. And if I shift my laptop around, there's loads of books. I read so much at the moment. I'm dyslexic, so reading was hard for me in the first place. But I set myself my own limitation, given the fact I knew I was dyslexic. But I didn't realize I'm also a speed reader. So rather than reading line by line, I read block by block. And I didn't realize that until later down in my life when I came to London. I said, whoa, sometimes something happened that I was challenging myself. I realized I could read more. But I started reading a bit too late, where all that knowledge that all the years I spent just drinking in the parking lots, I could have spent that time reading. So that's going to be one. I think I would definitely advise that to anyone as well. Read as much as you can. If you can't read as much as you can, partner with someone, help someone who's better than you in your eyes, and work with them, help them get that knowledge on that side.
The thing about reading, I feel, is that nowadays people's attention span is so short, and they'd rather read snippets of the internet as opposed to getting really deep into a book. So that's a bit sad, I think.
The reading is a meditation. People I've realized myself with the number of choice that you have on Netflix, which actually I think there's a research being published last time. People spend about 90 minutes per week just watching trailers because they don't know what to watch, which is a lot. But when you're reading, you're focused.
Yes.
Either you're reading a book or some audio book, but then you're focused. You're listening to something. It's like you're calming your brain because you have so much distraction around. That's why your attention span is getting reduced. Brain can't cope with that much of kind of so many distractions. You have to calm yourself. I do go for walks. I put my headphones on audiobook on, go for a walk in the forest, and then 2 hours back, I finish the book. So it just gives you good use of time, knowledge-wise, and also you're fit. You go around the forest, you focus, you come back refreshed.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I do a lot of running. So I consume a huge amount of podcasts that way. But interestingly, this one time I went for a run and I realized that I didn't have my earphones with me. And so I was running for an hour and a half with nothing, which was great, I think, because that was a switch in that now I've got nothing coming in. I now have to, there were lots of things that I was thinking about. And at the end, I came out actually with a lot more ideas about something that was at the back of my mind. And I realized that I was caught in I have to be doing stuff or input and fill up the space and fill up the time, when maybe, because you were talking about meditation, I think there's different ways of doing that. I think maybe not listening while you're doing something, an activity, is also a good thing to do, which a lot of people don't, because they always flick up their phone when they're waiting. Pull up their phone.
I've realized that it happened during the pandemic. It's happened to me a lot more. I will have to kind of literally one day my partner will propose on the Netflix, the phone is on my hand automatically without thinking, and I have nothing to check. It's just instinct. And now I said to myself, okay, you know what? I'm going to put my phone somewhere in a different room, so I have to walk to get there. So kind of reducing the amount of kind of opening my phone I have. But yeah, and also the meditation part. It could be as easy as sit down, breathe for 1 minute. It could be washing dishes, because you're focused on washing the dishes. That's meditation in itself. And I think you've probably read how Bill Gates used to work, and they do dishes themselves, even though they're billionaires, because those are activities that's improving your mental health, because it's so mundane, but you're focused. And one of the things I've read from not Anthony Robbins, but Robin Sharma, who wrote the monk who sold his Ferrari, was to watch a flower, look at a rose, analyze every single aspect of that rose, the petals, the fine grains, the forms, the color. Just do that for 1 minute, and suddenly after that 1 minute, your head is so light. Because again, the fact that people just have to fill time with work, they think that they are more productive. Actually, the most productive people are the ones who actually have good sleep, do their right exercise, switch off, do something different, because then that gives you more energy, more brain power to process a lot more things, because their brain are not tired enough, giving it time to relax. I think there was I don't remember if you've remembers, but I think it was Japanese or some Chinese consulting company did a research. They put two different set of employees, two different rooms, two different companies. One of them, they were allowed to take breaks and look at YouTube, look at Facebook during the work time, and then time how much they have to do in terms of how much time they do the work. And the same set of similar skill set, but different set of people who were not allowed to watch any YouTube, anything else, right? They had to work, similar hours. The output from the one who actually took more break were higher than the output from the one who didn't take any break. So it just clearly shows that your mind can't process that much. So you have to just take time, process it. Don't be too ambitious that you have to kill yourself for it, because that's not the right way to do it.
No, quick way to the cemetery, I think, for that.
Exactly.
Let me circle back to the question that I asked you earlier on about whether you felt that you were successful, and you have said yes. And I like the answer that you gave. And given that you believe that you now have built yourself a very successful life, what's the next level for you that you're reaching for? What's the next thing that excites you that you're...
Right. And I have to be very honest, I don't have the answer. And I've set myself goals from a long time ago. I've achieved them, but it felt like the goal was not high enough because I've achieved it already. So I'm actually debating what's the next step. I don't know yet. I'll work with like various people around me. I'll talk about them. What do I need to do? What do I feel? But what's my best skill sets? Everyone has different view of how I do things, but I don't know myself. So I need to, as I say, you need, as I said, to kind of preaching to everyone to take breaks. I haven't taken a break myself to really focus on what do I want now. So that's my next step. I won't be giving you kind of a fancy answer saying, okay, I've got that figured out. Actually, I don't. I need to work on it.
That's an exciting place to be as well. It's like doing discovery. It's
exactly.
the asking of the questions, isn't it?
True.
What do you want the world to look like?
Phase.
Exactly. There's something maybe you ought to...
Yes, absolutely. I probably need to get my team to sit with me and actually ask the question.
Do some process mapping.
Exactly. That does help, actually. It helps in any situation. But it's over formal. But yes, you're right. I need to do a bit of self-discovery, because I'm switching into a different stage of life as well, and I don't know what I really want out of it. So a lot of thinking I have to do. for that, I probably need to disconnect me from the business and kind of spend that time on my own and figure things out. But the thing is, what I've always wanted to do is, like, there's a book I've been reading about leadership it's called The Motive by Patrick Lencioni, and it talks about leadership and why would you want to be a leader. And I think what I do like more with my life is coaching people rather than running businesses. I love spending time with people, for me, it's like a problem I have to solve, right? If those people have a problem, I'm trying to fix them. Probably it's not good. Maybe some issues I have to work in my subconscious somewhere. But I feel very empowered when I'm helping someone else, making them better version of me, given all the knowledge I have. And I've been training a lot of people even before I started the business. Everyone has great jobs. They moved to Accenture. A lot of people have started their own companies. Even though we don't speak that much, but I know there's level of kind of gratefulness, and I feel very proud I've created those people. And I used to say to everyone, if you want to change the world, start with one person at a time, rather than trying to change the whole big world. So for me, it's like, if I train someone else, I'll always tell them, wherever I'll tell you, try the same thing with someone else who needs it, and hopefully that's going to go down, and you're going to leave a whole legacy behind, which you don't even know what you built. But when people talk about it behind your back when you're not there, maybe that's the real measure of success. But you won't know because you're not going to be around that much.
On that note, actually, I think we're ending on a really good note, because I didn't know you before this call, and I really like listening to how you have to listen to your journey and the values that shape your life. So even though I wanted to ask a question about what your core values are, I think it shines through in the answers that you've provided, and how you are so passionate about helping people. You took a sabbatical to do work for charity, so much so that you were going to be homeless and your friend offered to pay you, etc., and how it brought you where you are now and how it's still driving you forward. And I think that you will leave a long legacy behind you, whether you see the output of it or not. So thank you very much for spending the time with me and
I really
sharing the
appreciate
story.
it. Really enjoyed the conversation, Taylor. Yeah, great to be on your podcast, and hopefully people could benefit from my own journey and yourselves. I do like the drawing you put every week on LinkedIn. I do enjoy watching that. So keep them coming.
Thank you very much, Goolshun.